Hey guys, I'm Angela and welcome back to Hobby Night. There was, well, no news from GW this week, so instead I thought I would share with you guys 5 hobby hacks that I have discovered through the quarantine that have made my hobby time a lot simpler and easier. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the first hack. For my first hobby hack, I want to talk about these plastic bins that you can usually find when you're shopping for stuff for like bead storage and like jewelry components, but they work extremely well as bit storage, let alone being used for storing pieces of miniatures that you maybe want to get rid of the sprues of. Maybe you're trying to save some space in your house and you're like, I want to get rid of all these boxes that I have from GW that have all these sprues in them because I've got a bunch of stuff. Like, look at all my boxes. I have all these boxes. I want to get rid of those though. I'm going to put the bits into here because what you can do with this particular brand is, one, you can actually fit some of the build guides inside the boxes to be like, okay, this is what's in here. In this particular one, I have some Nurglings from the Plague Marine Space Marine Heroes Series 3, which was part of getting that one arm replaced, as well as I've got some Dire Chasm miniatures that I've got partially built as well. So those ones are in here, and one of the other cool things that I like about these that you can do is you can actually label them really specifically if you want. If you really want to be very, very organized, you want to know exactly what mini is in exactly what section, you can use a label printer, or you can use the stickers that the kits themselves, like these bins, actually come with, and you can actually label everything. I went kind of extreme here to show you, how specific you could be. What I will probably be doing going forward, just for ease and so that I don't waste too much of my label printer tape, is I'll probably just label this as Indomitus next time, because that'll tell me which, booklet I need to get to be able to finish building these guys. But I thought it was cool to show you guys this first hobby hack and how these storage bins can make just organizing and reducing your boxes down a lot easier and really effective. And one of the other things that I want to talk about with these, actually, before we wrap up, is I actually really like these particular dividers for this one. Now, they come as a 2-pair, and a lot of times you'll see them as individual dividers. I think this works a lot better. These are really, really stable, and I'm going to do something here that I don't normally recommend doing, but like, I can, lift this upside down, I can move it, and in the past, I've had some bins where the dividers kind of lift away and the pieces will slide around and they'll get mixed up. I have not had this with this particular bin style recently, and I think it's partially because of the way these dividers work. I do think you could clip them and still have them work if you wanted to slightly rework how you wanted to organize your space in here, if it just worked better for you that way. But personally, I'm intending to leave most of mine together because I just think the functionality of the double pair works so much better. So that is me gushing over some bins. Let's go ahead now and move on to the next hack. For our second hack, we're going to talk about museum putty. Also known as blue tack. Oftentimes you will purchase this to help you get prints up on your wall, but we're actually going to be using it to help us prime our minis. And you might be going, why are you using museum putty to help you prime? Well, let me explain. I have, for example, this Dire Chasm miniature that I recently assembled, but I don't want to fully assemble this guy because this cloak is sort of awkward. It's very, very close to the mini. When it's on the back and everything, it's going to be a pain in the butt to paint. But I want to zenithal prime it so that I get a cool lighting effect and get this really neat lighting on my miniature for when I'm painting it, right? And you want to do that assembled. So what the museum putty is going to be for is we're going to take a small amount of this stuff, stick it on to the backside of the mini where the connection point would be. This is going to help prevent the connection from actually happening because these are easy to build. Obviously, if this wasn't an easy to build mini, you wouldn't have to worry about this quite as much, but you're still wanting to use the museum putty at the connection point. And then you're going to stick the other side on there, and now he's together in such a way that we can zenithal prime him fine. And when we're finished zenithal priming him, we can just separate the two pieces, and now we can paint them separately and make sure that we get good coverage of our paint. It just makes the whole process a lot simpler for us and a lot easier. And I do this all of the time when I'm wanting to paint things, especially using a zenithal, because it just makes the whole process a lot easier, and I really, really recommend this. It saves me so much time.
Angela, what is all this?
I might have a problem. I have too many minis to paint, and not enough subscribers to encourage me to do it, so don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the videos. With our miniature now primed, we can talk about hobby hack number 3, and it actually involves museum putty as well. You might have already noticed. So as you can see, I have gone ahead and used the museum putty to specifically mask 2 areas on this miniature that I just zenithal primed. I did this by basically wrapping the museum putty around the spear tip, as well as putting a glob of it on this front chest piece. And the reason I did this is because I want to prime these in a slightly different color because I'm going to be painting them metallic, so I want to prime them in black. Now, I masked it, and you can just easily pull this stuff off. It usually comes off pretty clean. If there's anything that is left on there, you can actually use the museum putty to pull itself off of the material once it's like getting towards the edge. As you can see, I'm just grabbing little chunks, kind of doing this lightly because there are some delicate pieces on this spear, so I don't want to break them. So definitely be aware of what you've masked with the putty because it can be sticky and pull a little hard. But you can take it off really cleanly and basically allow yourself to prime something a different color in the future. And I really like this aspect because it just gives you a lot of versatility with what you're wanting to do with your paint schemes and everything. And there we go. We use the putty to sort of dab it off of itself, and we have a fully clean and ready to paint miniature. Obviously, we need to prime these pieces in black still for our metallics, but it's good to go. Not only that, but now that we have our miniature primed as well, we've got our zenithal. Just to further illustrate hack number 2, I'm going to take him off of his base for ease because this stuff, like I said, is kind of sticky. You can just pull him apart, use a little bit of the putty to get the excess off. Oop, I took him a little bit too far apart. And now he is in pieces ready for me to paint. Museum putty is great. I definitely recommend picking some up. Like I said, it's blue tack, or you can get other brands, but it is super, super versatile and useful when priming and assembling miniatures to paint. So, for our 4th hobby hack, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that sort of goes along with miniature painting and doing that kind of stuff, because I assume if you like painting miniatures, you probably like also showing off those miniatures that you've painted, potentially with friends and family online or complete strangers online, like I do, through stuff like Instagram and Twitter and all of that kind of stuff. Now, there are ways to help enhance your photos really easily with basically stuff that you're already purchasing anyways, because it comes in the kits. And that is all of these various bits of cardstock and cardboard that you see around. These have all come out of various GW kits. Normally, sometimes the bigger box, like the starter set style things, but also from various Plague Marine box sets, like this color. I've used a couple times when I've been doing Instagram photos just to have a little background color. These have been working well for me as platforms for my miniatures to sit on when I'm taking photos and everything. This one is very recent. You may have seen it in the unboxing I did of Dire Chasm, and it just works as a nice generic red backdrop. And you can even get some that are, whoop, as that falls over, some that are just basic black if you want to keep it really simple and everything. So there are a lot of variety of inserts that GW gives you in their boxes that you might think are like, whatever, these are trash, or I don't want to use this as terrain because it feels like it's too flimsy and is going to fall over or move too easily, because that's what these are. These are the starter set terrain pieces from, I think, the 8th edition starter sets. And you may not want to use them as that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have a value to you, and they work great as backdrops or floors for your miniatures to sit on when you're taking photos. I use them all the time. I definitely recommend holding on to the ones that you think are really cool. Like this one, if you follow me on Instagram, you have probably seen a lot because I use it all of the time, especially before I got my photo box. But even then, I still use it because it's very simple. I think you get this in most Warcry kits and everything like that. And it just works really great as a backdrop. And I hold on to a whole bunch of these for that exact reason. And for our fifth and final hack, we come to the kitchen, because we're gonna be talking about brush restoration and preserving the tips on your brushes, because let's face it, we all have a bunch of brushes that wear out way faster than we kind of expect them to, and we want ways to be able to basically make it so that they're not quite as frayed. So I have a Citadel and a WizKid brush here that have some kind of crappy tips on them, as well as my brush cleaner. And you know, we're all familiar with brush cleaner. This is a pretty popular brand. I use it all the time. And one of the benefits to this that some people don't know is you can actually use this to help restore the tips of your brushes. Basically, once you are finished washing your brush as normal with this stuff, after you've made sure to get all the paint residue out of what's left in this cleaner, because you want to make sure that you're not getting paint into your bristles, you can actually use this product back over top of the bristles of your brush as a conditioner, essentially, as basically to reform the tip and basically let it sort of sit there and dry that way. The key thing to this is to make sure that you rinse your brushes prior to using them again, so that you remove all of that soapy residue, so that it's not mixing with your paints, because you don't really want to add that, liquid or the soap residue to your paints and everything. But when you do this, it helps restore the bristles. And I have saved a number of brushes this way and basically made it so that I can make these brushes last a little bit longer and keep them around so that I'm not having to replace them as much, which saves me money. So it's a really great hack that I don't think a lot of people know of, but hopefully now you do, and hopefully it'll save you some money and time. And that was 5 hobby hacks that I hope you guys find useful in your future projects and everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to hit that like button, share the video with your friends, and if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I have been Angela, you've been watching Hobby Night, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!